Hey anime fans. The series name is What If Naruto Got Harem with Dragon Ball Z. So let's start the series. It was a normal day in Konoha. The birds were chirping, the sun was shining, and the streets were full of busy people. The 5 Hokage faces looked down upon the village that has recently been constructed after the battle with the Akatsuki member Pain. Even with the coming of the 4th Shinobi War that is scheduled to start in a few months, the people still go about their normal lives. In the park of Konoha sat a man named Kent Zaman. He wore a white, zipped-up, sleeveless vest, white pants with black tool pouches tied to his right foreleg and waist, white martial arts wraps on that went from the middle of his fingers to his elbows, black boots, and a white bandana on his head. He had short red hair that was hidden by his bandana, brown eyes, and a stylized Z permanently tattooed on his right wrist. Kent had only recently appeared in Konoha, but he didn't live here. In fact, he didn't live anywhere within the 5 elemental countries. It was knowledge to a large number of ninjas and only a few civilians that he is in fact from another dimension. Where he was from, he was bullied a lot as a kid growing up for his beliefs and theories about life beyond his planet. He lost his parents, Cole and Tina, the only people who liked him at age 12. His life changed at the age of 15 when he was walking home from school. A large truck containing a large barrel of strange pure white liquid crashed right in front of him, the liquid splashing all over him. When he awoke, he soon found out the effects of the liquid: increased physical strength and speed, increased intelligence, and the mysterious sea mark that somehow had the power to open up portals to other worlds. It was there that his space-traveling journey began. He was currently 18 and his journeys had made him stronger than he ever was. His first ever stop in his world travels brought him to the world of the Z Fighters. There, he was able to convince them to teach him how to fight, learning very quickly, and through the whole year and a half he spent there, quickly became a strong warrior, able to beat some of the lower members of the Z Fighters. The Z mark somehow made it able to quickly adapt and learn the key techniques he was taught, and saw faster than the ones who taught him. The final thing he did to make him extremely powerful was working with Bulma and a reluctant Goku to develop a machine that was able to make him half Saiyan. Shortly after transforming into Super Saiyan while fighting a revived Frieza, he met Nito, a member of a race called the Vesirians, who had the natural ability to skillfully control fire. After getting a different version of the Z mark accidentally, through a sample of the mysterious white liquid that Kent was researching, he became Kent's apprentice and started to learn how to become a strong fighter. Shortly after, Kent, during his self-named random planet-hopping day, ran into the world of Azeroth, which has long since been rid of all species except for a few barbaric ones. The only smart race left were the dragons, which were currently in a war with each other. Here he accidentally found the heart of Serenox, a black dragon that has been dead for a long time. Yet when put next to his Z mark and a dragon-shaped pendant he also found, Serenox was revived as a half-human/half-dragon. After claiming his place as Black Dragon King, he became a friend and ally to Kent. The next stop after that was his current location, the elemental countries. Here he was begun learning many powerful and useful jutsu and has befriended the 9-tailed Jinchuriki, Naruto Uzumaki. A few of his other notable stops include the world of Mobius, where he befriended Sonic the Hedgehog, and Smash Kingdom, where he made friends with the hero plumber Mario. Returning to the present, Kent was waiting for Rock Lee to arrive for a spar he had promised. Nito sat next to him, acting like his foolish self once more, counting the spots on his body and failing, while also whistling to himself. He was a red, anthropomorphic cheetah with black spots, wearing black pants, a black unzipped vest, white martial arts wraps, and tool pouches in the same spot as Kent. He had a Z mark on his right wrist, just like Kent, but with flames emanating from the Z. As Nito went on, a thought struck Kent. causing him to snicker. "What?" said Nito, stopping his whistling and counting. "I was just thinking about something," he said, smirking. "We have been to many worlds in the past, peaceful worlds, war-torn worlds, worlds full of heroes and worlds full of villains, and even some crazy weird worlds. But as I look at these worlds, I decided something. What if there were heroes that were different from most heroes? They would protect towns and their worlds like most, but unlike most, this group would be made up of warriors from different worlds, joined together as one, who would protect the entire universe as best they can? And the first two members are sitting right here," Nito said, looking perplexed for a moment before a big smile appeared on his face. "Count me in," he said. After eliminating some bandits for Lady Tsunade a few miles outside of Konoha in a dense forest, Kent was taking a quick sightseeing walk. In addition to Nito, Sarinox, Goku, Naruto, and Sonic, he also added Jarek Mezane, a swordsman, mercenary, and martial artist. Jarek was the son of a once famous hero named Jarek Mezane, and Kent didn't know much about him other than the fact that he had appeared to him one day, asking for assistance in killing an evil overlord who had killed his father. Kent helped him with the task, and Jarek joined his group after that. 2 more members will be added, and he will have the group members finally meet up. As he was walking, he suddenly felt an unknown presence nearby. Uncertain whether it was a stray bandit or not, he stopped and said loud and clear, "You can come out, I know you're there. Could you please pipe down? I'm trying to sleep here," was the response he didn't expect, but he stood there waiting for it. A tired voice shouted above him. He looked up and saw something, again, he didn't expect to see, a large treehouse that looked like it had been there for a while with how old the wood was, well hidden to keep any intruders from finding it, and standing in the door of the house was a boy that looked about 13 years old. He was wearing a dirty orange unzipped jacket with an orange shirt under it and orange pants. He also had spiky orange hair with red highlights that went all the way down to the middle of his back. "Kent, what's with blondes and orange?" He was rubbing his eyes as if he just woke up. Realizing it was him who woke the kid up, Kent started. "Oops, sorry about that, didn't mean to wake you, just passing through, minding my own dash." He stopped when he noticed something about this guy. He had the exact same blue eyes and whisker marks that Naruto and his twin sister had. The blue eyes could easily be genetics, but the whisker marks can only come from being born to a Kyuubi Jinchuriki. And besides Naruto and Naruto, the only other Kyuubi Jinchuriki have been their dead mother and the late first Hokage's dead wife. Kent shouted, "Where did you get those marks on your cheeks?" The child stared for a minute before groggily responding, "I was born with them, I guess." "What do you suppose?" "I don't know, I've lived in this forest all my life." "You've been alive since you were a newborn? How did you accomplish that?" "No idea." "Well," Kent said with a sigh, "do you at least have a name?" "I don't know how, but since I was a kid, I've somehow known that my name is Forest Uzumaki," the child said, his face suddenly taking on a perplexed expression. This time, Kent was taken aback. How could this child be an Uzumaki? Only Naruto and Naruto should be alive. The others were all slain long ago when the hidden Whirlpool village was destroyed in a war. Kent shook his head and then inquired, "Are you sure? Because, as of the last time I checked, there were only 2 Uzumakis remaining." Forrest was awakened by this and said, "What?" "Yes, do you know Naruto and Naruto Uzumaki from the village of Hidden Leaf?" "Nope, don't think so," Forrest said after giving it some thinking. "The only people I have encountered are a few passing villagers and a few feeble bandits." "Who are you anyway?" "I'm Kent Zamanime," Kent stopped when he suddenly felt a familiar energy. Acting quickly, he jumped up to where Forrest was standing, grabbed him, and jumped toward a nearby clearing, just in time to avoid a long white spike that tore through the tree house. "My house!" Forrest shouted as they landed. As they looked at the pile of destroyed wood, a voice suddenly came from behind them. "It's nice to finally meet you, Kent Zaman." Kent and Forrest looked behind them to see the man that had attacked them. The man had white hair, parted down the middle, green eyes with black scara instead of white, pale skin, and 2 dots on his forehead. He was wearing a light lavender, loose-fitting, long-sleeved, zip-up shirt, black pants cut off around mid-calf, bandages wrapped around his ankles, shinobi sandals, and a purple rope-like belt tied around his waist. He also wore 2 small red tubes on either side of his face, securing 2 locks of his white hair. Kent searched through his memories of pictures of dead shinobi, knowing that the black scare meant he was revived with impure world resurrection, before he came upon the right one. Kimimaro Kagaya, former member of the Sound 5 that worked for the leaf trader Orochimaru. He has the ability to use any of his bones as a weapon and or a shield. Killed by a disease you had constricted during a fight with the Sans Kazakage Gaara. You are now one of many ninja revived by Kabuto Yakushi in preparation for the 4th Shinobi War that is starting soon. Forrest just looked at Kimimaro during the entire explanation before charging with anger at the Sound Ninja. "I don't care how strong he is. He destroyed my house and he's going to pay." 2 seconds later, not surprisingly, Forrest was sent flying through the air over Kent and against the ground, who just rolled his eyes before shouting to him, "Just stay back and watch, I'll handle this." Kent walked forward, taking a fighting pose as he spoke. "All right, let's see if you're as tough as they say you are." Kent stood on the field in a battle pose across from Kimimaro Kagaya while Forrest stood quite a ways back from the fight. Still dazed from the hit he took, the two stood still watching to see who will make the next move, either moving an inch, slowly. Kimimaro took off his lavender shirt as a black symbol on his chest glowed red and a zigzag pattern started forming on his body. "Lord Kabuto told me that you have remarkable fighting skill and I would most likely need the first form of my curse mark to beat you." As his shirt hit the ground and the marks were fully formed, he suddenly ran toward Kent in a burst of speed, 2 large bone spikes forming on his wrists. Taking out 2 kunais, Kent began fighting him, parrying blows, dodging attacks, and attempting to hit him for almost 5 minutes. Finally having enough, Kent jumped back a couple of feet before gathering energy in both of his hands, not wanting to know what would happen if he got hit with the next attack. Kimimaro covered himself in a wall of bones just as Kent unleashed his attack. Final flash. Forrest watched amazed as a giant blast of energy shot itself out of Kent's hands and into the wall of bone, destroying it instantly. No way he survived that. Forrest was proven wrong a few seconds after Kent finished the attack when Kimimaro appeared out of the smoke cloud. This time, he was in his level 2 curse mark form, and he had dark gray skin, 6 large bone spikes sticking out of his back, and a long bone spiked tail. As he raced towards Kent at high speed, a large bone drill suddenly covered his left arm, and cocking the arm back, he screamed, "I will end you for Lord Kabuto!" Clematis dance, flower. In an instant many things happened at once, Kent's left hand reaching in front of him in the path of the drill, Kimimaro's drill slowly reaching his hand, Kent's right hand taking off the bandana he wears on his hand, and a large flash of golden light that suddenly radiated from Kent, temporarily blinding Forrest. When he could finally open his eyes, he was amazed at what he saw. Kent was effortlessly holding back the bone drill while Kimimaro struggled to push it further. What surprised him the most was the fact that Kent's hair was not gold and spiked and his eyes were green. Kent smirked as he began to speak. "What's wrong, Kagaya? I thought you were going to end me. Don't tell me this is your best. As he spoke, Kimimaro kept staring. What are you? How can you be so strong? Kent asked, smirking as he abruptly vanished and reappeared right behind him, burying his fist into his spine. As Kimimaro collapsed to the ground, his curse mark stayed gone, Kent responded. I am Kent Zaman, the man who fights to protect those he cares about, and to accomplish his dreams. I am a Super Saiyan. Suddenly, Kent grabbed the ninja's leg and threw him into the air before cupping his hands to his side and starting to charge energy for one of his favorite attacks. Kamehameha. After properly introducing himself and reaffirming that he had potential relatives in Konoha, Kent and Forrest started walking back to the village before arriving at the gates. As Kent turned back to normal and put his bandana back on, he suddenly looked over at Forrest, who was staring wide-eyed at the spot in the air where Kimimaro had been seconds before. So, want to go to Konoha? Forrest asked as they entered the village. Forrest Uzumaki was amazed as he looked around the large village. He always knew that there was some sort of village near the tree where he used to stay, but he didn't know it was this big. He listened to Kent as he told him about Konoha, the large village-trained ninja who advanced in rank as their career furthered. The ninja would get missions to accomplish certain tasks ranging from D rank to S rank. They used an energy that exists inside everyone called chakra to do awesome moves called jutsu, and Konoha was one of the 5 great ninja villages, the others being Suna, Iwa, Kumo, and Kiri. Kent was currently telling him about the leaders of the village. The leader of this village is known as the Hokage and has a powerful influence on the village. That mountain up there has the faces of all 5 Hokages carved into it. The one on the very left is the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, who built the village, and next to him is the second Hokage, the one Estes brother, Tobarama Senju, who established the village's police force. Next is the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, also known as the Professor, a wise man who died protecting the village from his corrupt pupil. Then the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, who died 16 years ago protecting our village from the 9-tailed fox. And finally the one on the very right is our current Hokage, the 5th Hokage, the one Estes' granddaughter Tsunade Senju. Forrest looked at the mountain that he could remember seeing before they even stepped into the village. Kent then asked, You remember that Naruto guy I was talking about earlier? Yes, replied Forrest. How about him? As Forrest looked up at the 4th Hokage's face, he suddenly felt as though he knew him. Well, it's Naruto's dream to become Hokage, to have his face put up there someday, and for people to acknowledge him as the best Hokage to ever exist, and we recently discovered that he is the son of the 4th Hokage, Minato, he said, recalling another comment Kent had made about Naruto. Wait a second, you said Naruto had a twin sister named Naruko and that their last name was Uzumaki like me. Yes, this means that if you are an Uzumaki as you claim to be, then that means that you are also Minato's son and Naruto's and Naruko's brother. Speaking of which, there he is now. Hey Naruto. Forrest turned to see a 16-year-old teen with blonde, spiky hair, wearing an orange jumpsuit with black on the top and bottom, orange pants, shinobi sandals, a ninja tool pouch on his right leg, and a headband with a leaf symbol on it. The strange thing was that the man had some blue eyes and whisker marks on his cheeks, just like him. Hey Kent, how's it go dash? He exclaimed loudly, stopping when he saw Forrest. Hey Kent, who's this and why does he kind of look like me? I take it that this isn't just another of Nito's tricks? No Naruto, that's not, Kent responded, shaking his head. This is a guy who says his name is Forrest Uzumaki, Kent added, emphasizing the Uzumaki part. Naruto took a minute to look at him with wide eyes before responding. Does this mean what I think it means? Well, we will have to go to the hospital for a blood test. But yes, you could have a brother, although I'm wondering why he is younger than you, Naruto shouted. Cool, let's go. As he ran toward the hospital without realizing he had just run into a few people. Kent and Forrest followed, but as they passed one of the people he had run into, Forrest could swear the person said, "Stupid fox brat." So he decided to hold off on making the remark until later. An hour later, and Forrest and Naruto had taken a blood test and confirmed that they are, in fact, brothers. Naruto was of course eccentric and left to go tell everybody but the Hokage the news, leaving her for Kent and Forrest. 30 minutes later, Forrest was fully introduced to Tsunade, the fifth Hokage, and was given permission to stay in the village with Naruto. But he would be watched by the ANBU, Special Assassination and Tactical Unit, in case he was an enemy ninja. Forrest found this understandable and left with Kent towards Naruto's two-person, about to become three-person apartment. On the way, they ran into Naruto's twin sister Naruko, a girl with long blonde hair tied into twin ponytails, who liked to wear orange as much as her brother. She was very attractive, as he noted that a lot of guys passing by started looking at her rack, but left shortly after when her black-haired boyfriend, Sasuke Uchiha, gave them the infamous Uchiha death glare. After introductions and the two groups parted ways, they started heading to Naruto's apartment again when Forrest decided to ask Kent something. "Hey Kent?" "Yes," Kent replied. "Earlier, I saw that some people were staring at Naruto with anger. Why is that?" "You're looking for the truth?" "Yes, okay then. As I said, 16 years ago, Kyuubi, the nine-tailed fox, attacked the village. The village couldn't do anything to stop it. Minato defeated it by sacrificing his own life to defeat the Kyuubi with one final attack, a move that sealed the Kyuubi's spirit inside the body of two small babies. The babies that the fourth used were his own children, Naruto and Naruko. He did it, hoping that they would be seen as a hero, but instead they were seen as the fox itself, morphed into human form. Naruko was sent away to live with some old friends of their mother, Kushina, since the third knew that a little girl would more easily break from the hurtful words, and made a law that no one could tell Naruto about the fox. This didn't stop people from hating him, and parents even warned their kids to never go near him. Even after all the crap the village gave him, Naruto still became a ninja, and after many years of hard work, he has finally been acknowledged by a lot of the villagers, and is now one of the most respected ninja in the village. There are still a few people who don't like him, but they're slowly warming up to him. Ken looked at Forrest and saw a mixture of hate, joy, and sorrow in his face. He was obviously feeling sorry for his brother and sister. "Well, Forrest, if I know one thing, then I know that Naruto will get stronger knowing he has someone else he needs to protect," Ken explained with a big grin. Forrest instantly cheered up, but then the cheerful face went away when he realized something. "Wait a minute, are Naruto's whisker marks a result of the Kyuubi?" "Yes," Ken replied. "And since I have the same whisker marks, does this mean I have something in me also? That's what I'm going to find out," Ken replied with a sly smile, and Forrest felt a chill run through him, down his back, aware that this would not go well. "Kent, are you certain this is safe?" "Yes, absolutely," Forrest said, sitting on the couch of the Namikaze estate where his siblings resided. Kent, who was seated across from him, smiled and replied, "The Yamanakas invented mind transfer jutsu because they know the most about how the mind functions in the entire village. Inoichi, the head of the Yamanakas, is one of the heads of the TNI, torture and interrogation, department and frequently employs this technique to obtain what he wants. What makes you think otherwise?" "Because a move that lets you go inside my head and see any single one of my memories, and gives you a chance to screw with my brain doesn't really sound safe," Forrest stated. "Well, saying it that way sounds risky. In addition, why would I need to check your memory? In any case, why are we doing this? Because if you do have a Kyuubi and you like Naruto and Naruto have Kurama, that's their Kyuubi's real name by the way, then I will be able to find him if I journey into your mind, whatever becomes of me? Well, when I use the jutsu, my mind will enter your mind, causing my body to become immobile, and you will become unconscious, so you will also be able to go inside your own mind while I'm in there. Alright, let's get this over with," Forrest muttered after staring at him for a few seconds. "Besides, if anything goes wrong, Naruto will be here to wake and or take us to the hospital if need be," Naruto said as he entered the room. "Mind transfer jutsu," Kent yelled after conjuring up some chakra and placing his hands in front of his face with their fingers interlocked. The two of them froze for a few seconds before their bodies sagged. Naruto wished them luck, saying, "You're going to need it." Forrest looked around after blinking twice and realized he was in an extremely dark and foul-smelling sewer instead of the Namikaze. Ken replied, "This is your head, and I'm not surprised that it looks the same. If I'm right, then we should find the Kyuubi by following the source of the sewer water down there," pointing to the tunnel from which the ankle-length water was coming. Forrest just nodded and followed him down the corridor. After about 5 minutes, they arrived at a large room with a large piece of paper with the kanji for a seal on it. Kent grinned and said, "That is the exact same seal that Naruto's Kyuubi has on his cage. This means I was right, you have a Kyuubi in you." Forrest simply stared into the darkness behind the door, knowing that something was beyond. "Finally someone showed up. I was beginning to think you would live your whole life without seeing me. Of course, that would just make your life very boring," said a loud but surprisingly composed voice from behind the cage. Kent and Forrest stood there as a large nine-tailed fox entered the frame of sight. The fox's fur was blood red, unlike the other Kyuubi's red-orange fur, and Ken noticed that he was trembling a little. He realized that the Kyuubi had been emitting small waves of bloodlust, but it didn't affect him because he had experienced bloodlust before, but Forrest hadn't and was being affected. "Could you please stop that? I don't really want my friend pissing himself like a little baby," Forrest glaring, but before he could respond, the Kyuubi spoke, releasing the bloodlust. Kent turned to face the fox and said, "This kid, Forrest, is the brother of a friend of mine who has another Kyuubi, named Kurama, living inside him. I wanted to come and confirm my suspicions as well as ask you a few questions." The fox thought for a moment before closing his eyes due to a blinding red light. When they opened their eyes again, they stared in amazement at what they saw: a woman with blood-red hair that reached the middle of her back, red fox eyes, a red long-sleeved shirt, pants, and robes, black ninja sandals, and finally, 2 fox ears and 9 swishing tails. "Hello, I am the nine-tailed fox, Yumiko," said the fox. Ken paused for a moment before regrouping his thoughts. "Well, Yumiko, my questions for you are as follows. How did you get sealed in Forest? How do you exist in the first place if there are only supposed to be 9 bijou? And what do you mean by your father was a fool for picking Kurama? For the first question, all I know is that I was summoned by 2 individuals who wanted to seal me into their sun to keep them protected. I agreed and I was sealed. The 2 disappeared along with a short old woman that looked like a fortune teller, and since then, I have used my chakra to keep the young kid alive. I can answer the second and third question together. You believe we are constructs of chakra, but that is a lie, fabricated by the bijou, to keep you from learning the truth. And that truth is?" Kent said Kyuubi after thinking in private. "She mentioned a fortune teller, probably Baba. Which means Minato and Kushina probably got that 1 year alive, no contact thing. When he defeated the Jubi, who incidentally used to be a human who attempted to fuse himself with 10 tails of demon chakra but failed miserably. As you can imagine, Forrest looked at Kent and raised an eyebrow. The Bij are all demons. In fact, they were each part of powerful demon clans that were hand-chosen by the Sage of the Six Paths to house the chakra of the Jubi, Forrest said. Later, Ken remarked as Yumiko went on. I wanted to be chosen as the demon fox, but my prick of a father wouldn't let me, saying I had other duties to attend to, including being engaged to a total a-hole who I am actually glad to be separated from. Kurama was father's favorite, so he was chosen. Anyway, who is your father? King Kitsune, king of demons, and the man who I want to see dead and took off of his throne. Kent thought about it for a while before coming up with an approach. How about we make a deal? I remember Kurama mentioning that if the seal is half torn, then the bijou can come out in a physical body but is still connected to the seal. I never did it with Kurama since we still don't trust him, but I can do it for you. After considering this, Yumiko responded. What do I get, and what's the catch? Kent grinned as he responded. You let Forrest use your chakra and the two of you join B group of warriors that help me battle evil. In return, I'll put killing your father and giving you the throne on the to-do list. To do? Ken replied. We still haven't had an official team meeting, so we need to do that. In this world, the fourth Shinobi War is happening in months, so I need to do that. Plus the fact that we will have to face the king of all demons means we are going to have to train our butts off. It's nothing. Tell me about the gang you mentioned earlier. With a smile, Kent informed Forrest about his group while considering its future goals. The group currently consists of 10 members, which he believed was sufficient. He will hold his group meeting in a week, at which point they will formally become the Neon Z Warriors. Somewhere in his own world, Kent stood near the top of the tall mountain, a large forest surrounding it, a small lake somewhere in there. At his feet were 2 tombstones sitting under the mountain's single tree, the names of his parents, Cole and Tina Zaman, engraved on them. They had requested in their will that they be buried in the exact spot that had been both their place of marriage and where their son had been born. Kent smiled to himself, imagining how proud they must be for all the things he has and was going to accomplish. It had been a week since Forrest and Kyubi were recruited, and like he planned, the Neon Z Warriors were going to meet for the first time. He had sent Nito to get Naruto, Forrest, and Kyubi. He contacted Goku and told him to come with Jarek, Sonic, and Mario. Serenox arrived earlier via Dragon Portal and was leaning against a large rock a ways behind Kent. He had on his usual black dragon scale, unzipped jacket, his black dragon scale pants, and his black combat boots. He had black slicked back hair with 2 horns sticking out of the top and black dragon wings that were folded against his back. Kent walked up and sat down on a rock near the top of the mountain and waited. 2 minutes of silence later, the groups arrived. Nito's group appeared first and they went to sit in individual spots. Forrest's clothes had obviously been cleaned and he was now wearing a different orange shirt that had the Uzumaki swirl on it. He was also the usual ninja tool pouches as well as the Konoha headband around his left leg. Goku's group showed up second. Goku had on his usual orange training gi with the turtle school symbol on it that went over a blue shirt, orange pants, a blue belt, blue wristbands, and blue boots. He also had gravity-defying black hair that went in all directions. Sonic was a blue-furred humanoid hedgehog that only wore red and white shoes and white gloves, the mustached hero. Mario wore his usual red shirt, blue overalls, white gloves, brown shoes, and his red hat with an M on it that he wore over his brown hair. Last was Jarek. He is a middle-aged man with an eye patch and shoulder-length brown hair. He has a black leather jacket, blue jeans, black military boots, and black fingerless gloves. On his back was his long sword nicknamed Excalibur. Once the group sat down, Kent stood up from his start and started to speak. Hey guys, what's up? As you all know, I am creating a group of people that work toward the goal of protecting the good and fighting against evil. I have brought you all here so you can all meet the people you will be fighting side by side with. He then proceeded to introduce each member one by one. Nito Zaman, ex-member of a group on his planet called the Legends. He is now my martial arts apprentice and a good friend. He is an idiot most of the time but is a very good fighter. Serinox Fangwayo, a silent and strong human/dragon hybrid who is the king of one of 5 dragon clans that are at war with each other in his home world. Goku-son, one of the last surviving members of a group called the Science. He is a world-renowned hero where he comes from and has an extremely big stomach that is just as big as his heart. Naruto Uzumaki, ninja of the village of Konoha and a very good one at that. He has a dream to become the leader of the village called the Hokage. He likes ramen a lot, and is also the container of a demon fox named Kurama. Sonic the Hedgehog, who is known as the fastest thing alive where he's from and has defeated a mad scientist named Dr. Eggman time after time with the help of his friends. Mario is a hero of the Mushroom Kingdom. He has saved a princess named Peach from an evil lizard guy named Bowser many times over. He also works part-time as a plumber, and a regular of a Smash Brothers tournament that exists in his world. Jarek Mezane, an ex-mercenary swordsman who is also a student of a once evil guy named Akuma. He is the son of a once renowned hero and a very strong fighter. Next is Forest Uzumaki, Naruto's younger brother, and a very skilled ranged fighter. He is the container of our last member Yumiko Kitsune. She is our only female member and is the sister of Kurama, the fox inside Naruto, and the daughter of a ruthless demon king who, by the way, I have put on my evil people to eventually kill list. With that done, please converse with each other, get to know each other, possibly think about things we can do as a team, etc. Also, something that a few of you know, one of our first tasks as a group will be participation in a war that will be going on in about a month in Naruto's world, so be prepared for it. As the group began talking about various topics, Kent went past them and approached his parents' graves, where he knelt down and sat for a while before thinking. Mom, Dad, I will make you proud. I will never give up until the end, and I will fight against all evil in the universe. And even at the sacrifice of my own life, I will fight to protect. He then got up and walked back to where Serinox was standing. As he sat down to watch the fight that Goku and Nito started over food that they brought, Serinox asked him, "Do you really think that we can do this, Kent? Do you honestly believe that we can eradicate evil and bring about world peace?" Who knows? In the history of my world and other worlds, peace would never last forever and a new threat would always appear. All I know is that we will never find out unless we try. And if something big gets in our way, we will fight it and beat it. And we will keep on fighting until our least breath. And if we can't achieve true peace, we can at least ensure that the next generation receives our goal to do so. Kent said with a smile before responding in a way that would satisfy Serinox and anyone else who might ask him that question in the future. Serinox nodded and went to join the expanding battle while Kent continued to sit there and watch. At the time, whether they were aware of it, they all had the same thought. Any threat they faced would be dealt with, any challenge they met would be conquered, and for as long as they lived, they would protect the lives of the people who were precious to them. They were the Neon Z Warriors. Skip in time, Kent walked through the streets of the Tokyo, Japan Narima district, looking for something to do. In less than half a month the Fourth Shinobi War would be happening in the Shinobi countries, his group allying themselves with the Grand Shinobi Alliance, Konoha, Suna, Kiri, Kumo, IWA, the Samurais, and his group battling against Madara and Kabuto. It would be their first fight experience as a team, in a war no less, so he wanted to relax until then. As he passed by a bridge, bored out of his mind, he was shook out of his thoughts by something that left him utterly breathless. Sitting on a fence overlooking the river, staring at the setting sun, was the most beautiful girl he has ever seen in his life. She was wearing a red, sleeveless, Chinese shirt, brown pants, brown shoes and gold armbands. Of course, the most beautiful thing about her in his opinion was her red hair, which was done in a single pigtail, especially against the orange and reds of the setting sun. Smiling, Kent decided to introduce himself. Jumping on the fence and sat down next to her. Noticing him, she turned around, allowing Kent to see her beautiful blue eyes. After a while of staring at him, she asked Kent something unexpected. "Are you here for a fight or an engagement?" After a moment of blank staring, Kent gave the girl her response. "Me and my brother are pretty famous around here for having a large amount of people wanting to kill and or marry one of us," he said with a smile. The girl blushed a little, which made Kent laugh a little. "Well, since I'm not from around here, I probably wouldn't know either of you, but I would like to have the opportunity to get to know a pretty girl like you," Kent said with a smile. "My name is Kent Zaman, and I'm an amazing martial artist and master of my own dragon fist style." "And you?" Renko Satom, one of two heirs to the Satom School of Anything Goes Martial Arts. "It's nice to meet you. Likewise, do you reside in this area? Do you have any family members except your brother?" "The school's perverted grandmaster and my mother occasionally visit, but they live apart." "How about you? Do you have any family? Where are you from?" "I live close to the Tendo dojo with my brother Ranma, our Popskinma, Son Tendo's best friend, and Son's daughters, Akane, Nabiki, and Kasumi. I was born in America, though recently I've been doing a lot of traveling. As for relatives, I'm the only one, well, the only one living anyways." Ken closed his eyes as he remembered his parents. Renko meanwhile looked at him with sad eyes, not noticing that the fence she was standing on started to shake a bit. Kent was taken from his thoughts as he heard the sound of breaking metal, turning around to find Renko plunging head first into the river below, which unfortunately was too shallow at the time to break her fall, and if he didn't do something, she would probably die. Without a second thought, Kent jumped down after her, grabbing her waist, before blowing a small wind jutsu below them, propelling them back up and over the fence, Kent's sturdy back breaking their fall against the concrete street. Kent rubbed his back for a bit before suddenly realizing that Renko was on top of him, their eyes looking at each other. They stood there for a bit before Renko finally got off. Turning around with a blush on her face, Kent looked at her a bit, once again admired by her beauty. Plus she's cute when she blushes. Looking at her for a few more seconds, Kent spoke up. "So, Renko?" With a faint flush still visible, Renko turned to face him and said, "Well, I was really wondering if you were doing anything later?" "Well, then I was, wondering if you, and me, the two of us, could, go out on a date, maybe," Renko said, simply shaking her head before Kent continued nervously. "Nice job, Kent. You've fought intergalactic space aliens, met demons, and you're about to fight in a war and yet get nervous when asking out a girl," he said, and after a few more minutes of silence, Renko finally smiled and nodded her head. "Since you seem like a nice guy, Kent, I will gladly go out with you. I'll meet you here in about an hour. See you then," Kent said as she departed, thinking about what to wear. An hour later, Kent stood there waiting for her, having ditched his tool pouches and arm bandages. With his bandana tucked away on his belt, she showed up a couple minutes later, and Kent was blown away with how beautiful she looked. She had brought her hair out of her pigtail, and it was now flowing down to her back. She was wearing a beautiful blue dress that matched perfectly with her eyes. Wow, you are absolutely stunning, Ranko smiled. Thank you, you don't look too bad yourself, since you said you aren't from here. I will take you to a few places. Kent nodded as she took his hand, leading him through the streets. The first stop was Ukin's, a restaurant that made okonomiyaki, Japanese pizza, where he met Ranko's best friend and one of her brother's aforementioned love interest, Yukio Kwanji, and her ninja servant Kanatsu. The food was delicious, and Kent couldn't help but compare the young ninja to that Haku boy that Naruto told him about. The next stop was a dance that her school was holding, where he met said brother Ranma, and the youngest Tendo daughter Akane, who he found out was engaged to Ranma. He learned rather quickly that the young Tendo tended to be quick to anger but was otherwise nice. He also met Tatewaki Kuno, the school's self-obsessed, Akane-obsessed, and Ranko-obsessed kendoist, and after their meeting the dance was cut short to take Kuno to the hospital to be treated for his injuries after being defeated by the two-girl imprisoning warlocks. The last spot of their day was the Cat Cafe, a noodle shop, owned by some Chinese Amazons who also knew Ranko and, surprise, one of them, Shampoo, was a Ranma lover. The date ended strangely for two reasons. First, the space tyrant Frieza showed up and forced Kent to fight him, revealing his powers to Ranko. Second, after the fight, she looked at him with stars in her eyes rather than as though he were an alien, as he had assumed she would. That was awesome. Can you show me how to do that stuff? She said. You mean you weren't freaked out by that? Deadpanned Kent. When you live here, you see a lot of weird stuff. The rest of the way to the Tendo dojo, they both shared their life stories with one another, both of them getting happier that they met each other. He found it a bit weird that she spent most of her life as a cursed Ranma had. But since they were now two different people due to a spell they found, he didn't really care. Finally, in front of the dojo gates, it was time for the date to end. They looked at each other and Ranko looked a little down. Well, it's been fun, Kent. I haven't felt like this for a long time, thank you. Kent lightly nodded as she slowly turned around to head inside, but then, he suddenly stopped her, thinking to himself, I'm not going to end this perfect night with a simple goodbye. And before she could say anything, he leaned down and kissed her. She stood there for a bit in shock before she closed her eyes and returned the kiss. The two of them stood there for the next few minutes, kissing and hugging each other, both of them knowing that they have become an inseparable duo, connected by a burning love. A female figure with a staff observed the scene between the two in front of a large mirror in an unidentified location. She glanced at an open book she was holding and saw a picture of a dragon-winged man and a phoenix-winged woman holding each other in the same way that Kent and Ranko were holding each other. She closed the book and said to herself, When the great dark spreads across the land, the winged beasts of the sun shall flap their wings, and the resulting fire will brighten the future of the good, and snuff out the lives of the impure, before switching to a different scene from the near future. The Millennium Knights storyline would provide an explanation for Silver Millennium. The 11th, hidden, planet in the Silver Millennium is called Nemesis, but only a few people are aware of it. The inner Senshi, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, protect the princess, while the outer Senshi, Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, defend the kingdom from outside threats. Sailor Nemesis serves as the warden of her planet's prison. The Millennium Knights are male warriors who serve as the generals of the kingdom's army. Corona Sun, the Solar Knight, is best friends with Sakura, a dragon that lives in the sun's flames. Corona is also in love with Amako, princess of the Sun Kingdom, who fervently aspires to become a Sailor Senshi. Sakura is the first to fight Metalia and the Dark Kingdom in Earth's atmosphere, but he is severely injured and left for dead after colliding with a mountainside. His body leaves an imprint in the ground that fills with water, forming a lake in the shape of a dragon. Amako, before she dies, is able to tap into the sun's core and briefly transforms into Sailor Sun, but the Sun Kingdom explodes, sending her hurtling towards Earth. She falls into the valley of Jusenkyo and drowns in what would later become the Spring of Drowned Girl. Sailor Nemesis leaves her post to assist, but is killed. The Silver Millennium is destroyed, and the Knights are sent to the future alongside the Senshi. Prologue. Along with variations in dimensions, Corona is resurrected as Kenzaman, who was a recluse, frequently the victim of bullying, and had no friends during his school years. His parents were killed shortly after he turned 12 while defending him from an inebriated bank robber, and he was left to live alone. When he was 15, his class went on a field trip to the dragon-shaped lake where Zakira died, and Kent fell in by accident, waking the weakened soul of Zakira that inhabited the lake. Sensing his old friend, Zakira's soul entered Kent's body, and when he woke up in the hospital, he found that his strength, speed, intelligence, and stamina had improved, and that he now had a dragon tattooed on his right forearm. Since he had no memory of the Silver Millennium, he would not know the origin of the mark until the Millennium Knights arc. The first world he visited was Dragon Ball, which appeared a few days after Omega Shenron's defeat. He met the Z-Fighters, who taught him how to use ki and martial arts. During a training session with Vegeta, he made a mistake during a powerful attack, which resulted in Vegeta's death. The Z-Mark, which was still attached to the arm, demonstrated another ability. His white fire, which he used to fight, could also heal injuries. These flames started gradually reattached Kent's right arm. During this process, the mark absorbed any nearby blood to aid in the healing process, including Vegeta's blood, turning him into a half-Saiyan. The pain of having his body altered to fit his new race change also unintentionally unlocked the first stage of Super Saiyan. In another world, Vescrelia, Nito Torrance is a member of the Legends, warriors who each possess control of a specific element, Nito's being fire. While Nito is my character, the Vescrelia/legend idea is my sister's. I have got no idea what Nito's story was previously, only that the legends defeated some sort of evil. While exploring a barren wasteland, a dimensional portal of unknown origin opens up and Nito falls through. At that exact moment, Kent also attempts opening another portal. The two portals cross, having an unexpected result of Nito absorbing some of the dragon energy, creating a fire version of Kent's Z-Mark in the same place, and dumps him in front of Kent. Under controlled conditions, Nito is put through the same situation as Kent, having his arm cut off and forcing it to heal itself with Saiyan blood, donated from a reluctant Vegeta, turning Nito into a half-Saiyan as well. Since the pain was expected, Nito didn't go Super Saiyan during the process like Kent did. Nito became Kent's martial arts pupil and, after changing his last name to Zaman, also become Kent's surrogate brother. After visiting a few other worlds, befriending Sonic and Mario, Kent arrived in the world of Naruto and witnessed the fight between Naruto and Sasuke at the Samurai Bridge. Kent sensed something was wrong with Sasuke's mind and teleported behind Sasuke. Before he could react, Kent used his white fire to heal Sasuke's mind, destroying a jutsu Tobi had been using to control him. Tobi appears and Naruto manages to convince him to give the Shinobi Alliance 2 months to prepare, since he is so sure he will win. Tobi even gives the Leaf Shinobi Itachi's eyes so that Sasuke could get the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Sasuke returns with the others to the Leaf, and Kent befriends Naruto and starts learning jutsu. Kent's dragon energy mixes with his chakra and it unlocks a Kekkei Genkai. Plasma style. A girl named Naruko appears, claiming to be Naruto's sister. She was found in their mother's womb after she and Minato died and Kurama was sealed. To keep her safe, she was sent to live with some family friends outside the village, only to return when she turned 16. Naruto trains with Killer Bee, unlocking the ability to transform into Kyuubi chakra mode, allowing him to participate in the Fourth Shinobi World War from the beginning. In a different world, I'm not sure which one, Kent meets and befriends Jarek, helping him to defeat the Overlord, a mad king who killed Jarek's father and brother. Kent then lands in the world of Haven, which is home to large clans of dragons originally from the world of Azeroth, who fled to this world after Azeroth was destroyed in the Hour of Twilight. Check it out. The Black Dragons, who want to atone for the deed actions of their former leader Deathwing, use a spell to temporarily send Kent into Azeroth's past in order to steal the heart of the Black Dragon Serynox. Using the dragon's healing spells and the purifying flames of his Z-Mark, he revives Serynox while also removing Deathwing's influence. Grateful, the dragon befriends Kent and assumes the role of Black Dragon leader. Kent encounters Forest Uzumaki in the forest of Konoha. Forest was created when the spirit of the Sage of the Six Paths wanted to give the world another warrior to guard it. He used parts of the chakra that he had collected from Minato and Kushina to create a small baby. He then calls Yumiko and seals her in Forest, giving her the responsibility of guarding him as he grows up. After bringing Forest to Konoha, where he is introduced to his siblings and indoctrinated into the shinobi ranks, Kent enters Forest's mind and engages Yumiko in a brief duel. Yumiko reveals that the 9 Bijou are actually members of the 9 strongest clans of the demon world, having been selected by the Sage of the Six Paths to house the 10 Tails chakra. She also claims that although they do so, they are unable to use it and must instead rely on their own demonic chakra. Kent strikes a deal with Yumiko, using his white flames to partially weaken the seal, enabling her to appear outside, although she remains connected to the seal. Shortly after that, Kent forms the Nyanzi Warriors, a group of heroes who will fight to protect everyone in need: Kent, Nito, Serynox, Forest, Yumiko, Jarek, Goku, Naruto, Sonic, and Mario. A few months prior to the present, Ranma's soft home fell into the spring of a drowned girl, which caused the spirit of the Sun Princess Amako to start sleeping in his body. This is because all Jisenkyo curses have a failsafe that, when a victim accepts their curse and learns the lesson that the curse was meant to teach them, causes them to separate and become 2 separate entities. Ranma and his girl self split, and the girl decides to live as Ranma's twin sister, Ranko. In the present, Kent travels through Japan and meets Ranko, falls in love with her, they go on a date, Kent reveals his abilities to her, and they become a couple. Ranko offers Kent a room in the Tendo Dojo, which he accepts. World War of Shinobi. Naruto and the NZW, Nyanzi Warriors, are grouped with the other allied shinobi forces, Forest and Yumiko, Naruto, and the mid-range 1st Division under Darui, Jarek, and Sonic. Sasuke is paired with the short-range 2nd Division under Katsuchi, Kent and Nito with the short to mid-range 3rd Division under Kakashi, Mario and Goku with the long-range 4th Division under Commander Gaara, Naruto and Serynox, as well as Killer Bee, with the 5th Special Battle Division under Mifune. Serynox assists Sai and Kankuro in their fight against the resurrected Shin, Deidara, and Sasori. He defeats Deidara using his abilities and seals him away with a soul gem, Warcraft 3. While Mifune battles Hanzo, Naruto rematches with Kamamuro, and Serynox, who returned earlier, battles Chio, Zabuza, Haku, Gari, and Pakura before the 3rd Division. When they lose their will, they call forth the 7 Swordsmen of the Mist. While Kakashi battles Zabuza and Haku, Kent, Nito, and guide battle the remaining swordsmen. After witnessing the swordsmen kill numerous shinobi, Nito's rage enables him to confront and defeat Gari and Pakura. Where the 1st Division is positioned, an enemy force shows up. Forest, Yumiko, and Darui battle the Gold and Silver Brothers, Ginkaku and Kinkaku. Naruto battles a resurrected Konan. 2nd and 3rd Division reinforcements arrive. Sonic and Choza battle Dan. Jarek and Sasuke battle Kakuzu. Team 10 battle Asuma. And Hayashi battle Hazashi. The Geto statue is summoned by Tobi, who takes the objects that Kinkaku and Ginkaku are sealed in. Yumiko, Choji, and Choza fight it, but it vanishes before it can be destroyed, and the enemy withdraws for the night. The Raikage, who feels that Naruto and B shouldn't be in this war, approaches them while they are training in a remote area in the middle of the night. After B demonstrates his increased strength and Naruto shows that he is faster, the White Setsu starts murdering and posing as members of the allied shinobi forces during the night. The following morning, the disguised Zetsu attacks. After defeating the resurrected ninja Toroi, Naruto discovers that he can sense the White Setsu and sends shadow clones across the battlefield. Sensing a great evil, Naruto, B, and Sarinox head out and battle the revived Itachi and Nagato. Itachi uses Shusui's eye, which was previously inside Naruto, to free himself. After sealing away Nagato, he goes to where he thinks Kabuto is, coming into Sasuke in the process. Before the 4th Division, 4 Kages who have been revived, Mu, Genjutsu, I 3rd, and Raza, appear. Gaara battles and defeats Raza, his father. One of Naruto's clones shows up and battles the 3rd Raikage alongside Goku, while Gaara and Mario battle Genjutsu and Inoki battles his predecessor, Mu. Once all but Mu are vanquished, Kabuto forces Mu to call forth Madara Uchiha. The other Kage arrives, and the 5 of them start fighting Madara. The Naruto clone dispels, revealing what actually happened. Tobi and the 6 revived Jinchuriki are encountered by Naruto, B, and Sarinox. After a brief battle, B enters full Bijou mode and destroys the surrounding forest. The revived Jinchuriki then enters Bijou mode as well. While Kent arrives and battles Tobi with Sarinox, Naruto is ingested by the 4-tailed ape and encounters the Jinchuriki and their Bijou in his mind. Later, after he escapes the ape, he befriends Kurama and opens the seal, enabling him to enter Bijou mode. Suigetsu and Yugo appears soon after with a special scroll. Although he is once again a leaf ninja, he still wants to know some things, so he finds an unconscious, captured Anko and uses her curse mark to revive Orochimaru. Sasuke tells Orochimaru his plan and the group, after running into Karen, head toward the leaf. Itachi and Sasuke defeat Kabuto, forcing him to undo the reanimation jutsu. Itachi tells Sasuke his true feelings. The group defeats the Jinchuriki, then fights Tobi and breaks his mask to reveal himself as Obito. Madara, who has already defeated the Kage and shrugged off the previous undoing of the reanimation, arrives with the Kyuubi chakra provided by the sealed Kinkaku and Ginkaku, along with a tentacle that was previously cut off from B's Bijou form. The 10 Tails is revived, and the rest of the Neon Z warriors and the Shinobi Alliance arrive. Ken uses his white flames to save Neji from death, and Goku just manages to push away the tailed beast bomb aimed at headquarters. Naruto then starts sharing his tailed beast chakra with the Alliance, and the Shinobi Alliance and NZW engage in combat with the 10 Tails, Obito, and Madara. Orochimaru uses a special mask to free the 4 former Hokage from the death god's stomach at the secret Uchiha shrine in Konoha. Sasuke then has them tell him about the history of the Uchiha and Senju. He decides that Naruto will bring about the change he believes the world needs and returns to the battlefield with the former Hokage. Orochimaru and Karen then go to the Kage's injuries and heal them. After Sasuke, the dead Hokage, and the 5 Kage arrive on the battlefield and assist in the battle against the formidable foes, Hashirama battles and defeats Madara with the aid of Jiraiya and Goku. Kent, who previously understood that his white flames could destroy abnormalities in a person's body, discovers that a reanimated being's body is completely abnormal. Armed with this knowledge, he unleashes a barrage of white flames at Madara, ultimately killing the man. With no other option, Obito absorbs the 10 tails and becomes the 10 tails Jinchuriki. With his newfound strength, Obito easily crushes his opponents. Kent's rage drives him to Super Saiyan 2 for the first time after witnessing Obito inflict so much suffering and his constant declarations that reality and dreams are worthless. Using this newfound strength, Kent fights and defeats Obito, bringing the war to an end. In his final moments, as the sun rises, Obito finally sees the folly of his ways and gives Kakashi his second Sharingan and his previous dream of becoming Hokage. As the previous Hokage are released from the reanimation, Minato gives his daughter Naruto the second half of Kurama and wishes her and Naruto a happy birthday. Naruto and Sasuke receive field promotions to Jonin. Sasuke shares his thoughts with the Kage about the nature of the world, persuading them to maintain the alliance and to stop sealing the tailed beasts, except for the 2 that are currently sealed. The remaining 7 are released, but Shikaku requests to be resealed in Tagara, and he agrees. Knights of the Millennium. As Kent fought in the war, new events occurred in Japan, and Ranko recalled her previous life as Princess Amako. After seeing the Sailor Senshi on the news, Ranko went to Juban and changed into Sailor Sun during the battle. A new, unidentified enemy keeps attacking the city with ever larger armies, so Ranko suggests creating minor Sailor Senshi by connecting magically attuned girls to the moons of the other planets. Akane Tendo is the first to be chosen, becoming Sailor Io with the power of magma, while Yukio Kwanji loses an arm while fighting a monster on her own. The Senshi combine their powers to heal the arm, accidentally transforming her into Sailor Ganymede and giving her the ability to temporarily copy the abilities of any one Senshi. Shortly after, Kanatsu, despite being a boy, is discovered to be magically attuned, becoming Sailor Callisto with the ability to control frost. Alma Wade, a teenager with psychic abilities, is imprisoned in a secret underground facility in the American city of Fairport. She was gradually losing her mind after giving birth to 2 children that the scientists thought would develop psychic abilities but never did. But her near-death experience helped her remember her previous life as Iris, the warden of the prison planet Nemesis. After discovering that her psychic abilities were actually an early awakened version of her previous self's Senshi abilities, Alma regains complete control over them and escapes her prison. However, before she can embark on a war path, Pluto shows up and persuading her to return to Japan so she can live a normal life. Pluto gives Alma her transformation pen, enabling her to become Sailor Nemesis. A week after the Shinobi War ends, Kent is walking through Juban when he sees the inner Senshi, of which Sun is now a part, fighting a monster. His dragon soul reacts to the sight of the monster, slashing out with white flames that burn the monster to a crisp. He also recognizes Sailor Sun after noticing that she shares the same energy signature as his girlfriend. That night, he starts to dream about his previous life as the Sun General Corona. A week later, He fights another monster alone and completely recalls his former life, turning into Solar Knight. Kent then travels around Japan and awakens the other Millennium Knights. Merrick Sundora, college student Tundra Knight, former Merrick Mercury, begins courting Ami. Rourke Maguma, basketball player Magma Knight, who was formerly Rourke Mars, begins courting Ray. Junpei Erisher, baseball player Storm Knight, Junpei Jupiter in a previous life, begins dating Makoto. Vana Kagayaki, hairstylist, Shining Knight, former Vana Venus, begins dating Minako. Haru Sorrento, Silent Knight, a junior in high school, a former life of Haru's Saturn, begins dating Hitaru. Orin Tenno, Haruka's brother, ATV racer, Tremor Knight, and former Orin Uranus. Unlike their sisters, Orin and Osha are best friends and not a couple. Osha Ko, Michiru's brother, Tsunami Knight, guitarist, and former Osha Neptune. Soto Mayo, Setsuna's brother, Dimension Knight, aspiring lawyer, and former Soto Pluto. Mare Yoru, singer, Nightmare Knight, former nemesis, begins dating Alma. It turns out that the monsters are actually former prisoners of the planet Nemesis. Their leader, a nameless, bodiless being, uses an unidentified method to bring back the Sailor Senshi's old enemies, the Dark Kingdom, the Dark Moon family, the Death Busters, and the Dead Moon Circus, and takes Jadeite's body for his own purposes, adopting his name. As the Knights and Senshi fight these resurrected foes, the Senshi begin to acquire all new, potent warrior forms, and the Knights begin to unlock their mystic techniques. In addition to Wiseman, the inner Knights and Senshi battle and defeat the other resurrected Dark Generals, Nephrite, Zoisite, and Kunzite. The outer Knights and Senshi also battle and defeat the 4 members of the Dark Moon family, Rubius, Saphir, Esmeralda, and Demand, as well as the revived female villains, Beryl, Mistress Nine, and Neolenia, and Germitid. Luna and Artemis recall their capacity to transform into humans and call forth their personal weapons, a lance for Luna and a bow for Artemis. She reveals that Crystal Tokyo has been altered because Kent had unintentionally destroyed the meteor that would have caused the Great Freeze, and that it has been replaced by the Crystal Earth. I'll explain this in the epilogue. She also assists Mamoru in unlocking a new knight form, which he calls the Masked Knight, and Chibi USA and Mamoru battle and defeat Zirconia and Kayla Knight. In a dream, Kent encounters Zukira's soul and discovers the secret of his Z-mark. Ranko locates and infiltrates Jadeite's base, where she discovers a weakened and imprisoned Phoenix, strapped to a machine that is continuously draining its power. This machine is what has enabled Jadeite to bring back the previous villains. Ranko frees the Phoenix, and in return, it uses the rest of its life to give Ranko a new form, Sailor Phoenix. After losing his machine, Jadeite uses a newly discovered ability to absorb the remaining monsters, defeating the majority of the Senshi and Knights. Kent, in his role as Solar Knight, then transforms into Dragon Knight by unleashing the full power of the Dragon Soul, and Dragon Knight and Sailor Phoenix battle and defeat monster Jadeite. Following the battle, Kent gives Mamoru command of the Knights and chooses to continue leading his own squad, the Neon Z Warriors, because he believes that, although being a Solar Knight was enjoyable, he would much rather become stronger using his own abilities and skills. World of Demons. In Naruto's world, a number of demons start to appear and attack the Leaf Village. Yumiko reveals that these demons are the soldiers of Orion, king of the demon world and the father of Yumiko and Kurama. Orion has always hated humans but had allowed them to be because they were insignificant. But now that he has discovered that his missing children have joined forces with humans and are aiding them, he decides to finally wipe out humanity. Akusa, the general of the Kitsune armies, shows up in the village. He reveals that King Orion has promised him that Yumiko would become his after the humans die. Forest, who has begun to develop feelings for Yumiko, becomes enraged and battles Akusa while Kent battles a number of demons. Forest loses, but before Akusa can kill him, Kent and Yumiko intervene, forcing Akusa to retreat. Kent assembles the remaining Nyanzi warriors and, with Yumiko's assistance, they enter a portal into the demon world and arrive at Hellspike Mountain. The group battles the demon army as they go, and while they are resting, Yumiko discovers that she has grown fond of Forest as well. The group reaches a large lake of lava with a giant bridge hanging over it, where Akusa battles the warriors with another group of demons. Forest then engages Akusa again, narrowly prevails by dropping Akusa into the lava. The team arrives at the Titanic Kitsune Gate, which is guarded by special defenses that prevent others from flying or teleporting past it. A map taken from a demon soldier reveals 2 outposts that guard special jewels that are needed to open and close the gate. The team divides into 2 groups, each of which is headed to a different outpost. Group 1, which is made up of Kent, Nito, Serinox, Goku, and Jarek, arrives at the first outpost to find the demons guarding it already dead. Several robed figures emerge from the building and attack the group. During the battle, following a casual remark made by Goku, Kent uses the fusion dance with Serinox, becoming Kenerox, fighting and beating the leader of the robed figures and taking the first jewel from them. The elite Kitsune High Guard then appears and engages them. During this battle, Nito reaches Super Saiyan 2. The second group, which consists of Forest, Yumiko, Naruto, Sonic, and Mario, travels to the second outpost. There, they engage the Kitsune High Guard. Forest and Akusa, who survived the lava lake because of his abilities, engage in a third battle. Akusa prevails this time by assuming his full Kitsune form, but his injuries force him to retreat once more. The team reassembles at the gate, opens it, and then engages the Kitsune High Guard on the opposite side. Finally, they reach Hellfire Castle and defeat the remaining High Guard at the castle. The strongest of King Orion's men, the Royal Fire Kitsune Army, appears in the castle courtyard. Sonic, Mario, Goku, Naruto, Nito, Serinox, and Jarek remain behind to fight them, while Kent, Forest, and Yumiko make their way to the throne room. Jarek engages in level 1 combat for the first time during the battle. The cloaked figures emerge as a rebel army that opposes King Orion. The leader, Villain, apologizes for his previous actions, claiming that he had fought them before thinking they were enemies, and then leads the rebel army to victory. 2 rebels, the Charmed Twins, Yumura and Yamari, back up the NZW, revealing they are Yumiko's cousins. Outside the throne room, Forest has one last final battle against Akusa and wins, Akusa finally dying. In the throne room, Forest and Yumiko battle King Orion while Kent battles his Royal Fire High Guard. Annoyed at being injured, Orion goes full Kitsune form, much larger than the full Kitsune forms of his children, destroying the castle in the process and knocking out Kent. Yumiko goes full Kitsune as well and Naruto appears and does the same, letting Kurama take control. The 2 siblings battle Orion but lose. As Orion rains devastation on the rebels and the Nyanzi warriors, Kent wakes up and, upon seeing this, goes Super Saiyan 3 for the first time. Using his new power, he fights and defeats Orion. Forest and Yumiko are made leaders of the demon world, become engaged, and a special ritual turns Forest into a half-Kitsune. Villain's rebels are enlisted as the new Kitsune army. As king, Forest forbids any attack made against humankind and makes an alliance with the allied shinobi villages. First intermission. In addition to running into Gaara and Killer Bee, Kent briefly joins the ANBU and asks to confirm the location of the now free Bijou. He then locates the 2 through 7 tails and spars the human forms of Shikaku and Gyuki, and requests to fight human Kurama. Afterward, he leaves the ANBU. When Hawkeye, a rifle expert and Jarek's best buddy, goes hunting for Chameleon, a former officer of the Overlord, Kent assists him by enlisting Vuelin's aid. As the first step towards Serenux's objective of uniting all the dragon clans as one, she is presented to Frost, Princess of the Blue Dragons. The two hit it off right away and get engaged. Along with meeting and becoming friends with Yumiko's cousins Yumura and Yamari, Naruto also learns that she is a lesbian and starts dating Hana Inuzuka. The two also assist Naruto in achieving her Bijou mode, and Naruto and Naruto have a friendly match in their Bijou forms. In order to fight Mira, Tawa, and Demigra, future Trunks enlists the Dragon Ball Heroes' assistance. In the ensuing battles, Trunks and Goten merge to form adult Gotenks, Tien and Yamcha merge to form Tien Cha, Pan transforms into a Super Saiyan, and Goku eventually regains the Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue transformations he had lost after being de-aged. Deathwing, a strange figure, emerges via a portal in the Black Dragon Obsidian Temple's throne room during the night in the world of Haven. The figure eludes the night guards and makes their way to the temple vault, where they steal a bright gem before teleporting out of the building. While exploring Haven's wilderness, Kent encounters an enigmatic creature that attacks without warning. Kent fights the figure and narrowly prevails before Serenux shows up. The figure then runs away after revealing his name, Draco, and Serenux informs Kent that Draco has taken one of 5 shards of an artifact known as the Dragon Soul, which was used in an unsuccessful attempt to kill Deathwing, the destroyer of Azeroth. Kent and Serenux follow Draco's trail and arrive to the Blue Dragon Azure Temple. There, Frost is discovered hurt after battling and losing to Draco. Draco then enters the Azure Vault and takes the second shard. Serenux battles him but loses, and Draco runs away once more. After recovering, Serenux discloses that the Red Dragons never made it to Haven, instead staying behind to try to figure out how to preserve Azeroth, and that the Green and Bronze Dragons have, for some reason, become more hostile toward all other dragons since coming to Haven. The local dragons unexpectedly attack the groups at both temples. Terethus, the Green Dragon King, battles Nito, who first enters Super Saiyan 3, and Borine, the Bronze Dragon King, battles Forest and Yumiko, who team up to enter Bijou mode. Kent summons Jarek, Forest, Yumiko, and Nito, and he and Jarek go to the Green Dragon Jade Temple, while Serenux takes Forest and Yumiko to the Bronze Dragon Topaz Temple. It is revealed that their aggression stems from residual demonic influence that they carried over from Azeroth. While the battle is still going on outside the Topaz Temple, Draco steals the shard and slips away unseen. As the battle comes to an end, he reaches the Jade Temple and steals the 4th shard, but Jarek spots him attempting to flee and uses a new form called Shin Level 2. During the battle, Draco stops holding back and easily defeats Jarek before vanishing through a portal. The group jumps through and finds themselves in the destroyed world of Azeroth, which is now a playground for demons and other chaotic creatures. Kent spots Draco in the distance, and the group follows him to the Wormer's Temple. Kent and Serenux fuse into Kennerox and goes Super Saiyan. After summoning the remaining Neon Z warriors, Serenux has some dragon mages examine the remnants of Draco's portal and successfully reopen it. He reveals to the heroes that he is an ash dragon, a dragon whose draconic abilities have been morphed by demonic energy, and that he can now grow extremely dense dragon bone out of his body, even forming it into weapons, which is how he had defeated them in previous battles. Draco also surrenders and leads the groups into the temple where they find Alexstrasza, held in magical stasis. He uses the fifth shard of the dragon's soul to free the red aspect, and reveals that he stole the shards to awaken the other aspects who are all being kept in stasis at different parts of the world. To free the aspects Kalegos, Izura, and Nazdormu, the Neon Z warriors and Draco go to the Cold Nexus, the Eye of Izura, and the Timeless Tower under Alexstrasza. There, they battle Twilight dragons, demons, and ghosts of Azeroth's past heroes. The group also goes to Blackrock Spire and uses the shards to transform Serenox, the black aspect of Haven, free from the corruption that made Deathwing evil. The five aspects reassemble the shards into the dragon's soul once they have returned to the Wormer's temple. Kent then strengthens the gem with his white dragon fire, changing its shape. Serenox then renames the dragon's soul the Haven Crystal. In the ensuing battle, Deathwing appears in human form, and Serenox transforms his body with the Haven Crystal to create Super Dragon. Deathwing's human form is easily overpowered by Serenox, who forces him to transform into his titanic dragon form. Suddenly, a large group of demons, Twilight dragons, and phantoms arrive. After the heroes defeat the phantoms of former Azeroth villains Illidan Stormrage, Arthas Menethil, and Archimonde, Deathwing lands at the Maelstrom. The heroes battle Deathwing, and at the conclusion of the battle, Ken uses the Haven Crystal's power to kill him with a titanic dragon fist. Alexstrasza flies the heroes onto the top of Deathwing. The demons, Twilight dragons, and phantoms disappear after Deathwing dies, and the aspects, apart from Serenox, decide to stay on Azeroth to help it become the expanding world it once was. Alexstrasza gives Draco her powers, making him the new red aspect and asking him to bring any red and ash dragons that want to leave to Haven. Kalegos makes Frost the new blue aspect, and Izura and Nazdorma make Terathas and Borine the new green and bronze aspects after they have been cured of their aggression. In Haven, the 5 dragon clans make peace, forming the Grand Dragon Alliance under the leadership of the 5 new dragon aspects. Second intermission. Ryu and Kent become friends after Kent enters the most recent Street Fighter World Tournament and releases Ryu from the Dark Hado. Kent aids in the defeat of Feral Chaos by the Warriors of Cosmos. After discovering the DWMA, Kent makes friends with Maka Alburn and her partner Sol. Kent aids in the Keyblade Warriors' victory over the newly formed organization. When Kent visits the Grand Line, he makes friends with Luffy, the captain of the Straw Hat Pirates. After traveling to a much more technologically advanced other realm, Kent lands in the world of Genesis and assists the Master Chief and the UNSC in destroying the Guardians and Cortana that are out of control. When Kent gets to Remnant, he battles Cinder and the enormous Dragon Grim, helps expel the remaining Grim from the city, and saves Pyrrha from her at the last second. Dimensions that are shattered. In HFIL, Omega Shannon approaches Madara and the Overlord, hoping to work together to break out of their captivity by utilizing the Overlord's Shadow Dragon powers, Madara's space-time Sharingan skills, and Omega's. Using dark magic, the trio creates a large enough escape gateway. As the borders between time, space, and death begin to crumble, the potent portal has an unexpected side effect that opens portals to other dimensions, the afterlife, and even different points in time. Kent calls on the Neon Z warriors to travel to different worlds and lend a hand wherever they can. Nito locates 3 members of his own world, his sister Pink, his best friend Ashen, and his girlfriend Katrina. Pink battles Jadeite, while Ashen battles Frieza. He then merges with Nito to create Nishian, who battles Hirudegarn. Together, Harai the Fox, Jim the Werewolf, and Sonic vanquish a recently resurrected Mephiles. Mario also assists Galen Merrick in defeating Darth Vader. Goku encounters his father Bardock, who is under the influence of a resurrected Mira and Tawa. When Goku frees his father, Mira becomes enraged and changes into his escape form. Bardock then turns into Super Saiyan 3 and defeats Mira, forcing Tawa to flee. Gohan then transforms into Super Saiyan 4 and defeats Baby and Super 17, who have absorbed Janemba and Cell, respectively. Jarek encounters his father and brother, who have passed away. Forrest, Naruto, and Naruto run into their parents, and the 5 members of the family band together to fight King Kitsune. The 3 fight and narrowly defeat the Overlord, whose passing shuts the gate to the afterlife and permits the deceased to enter it in peace. SS-3 Future Trunks, Kane Kentucky, and Keenan Solian battle and defeat Xemnas, Tartarus, and Kid Buu, who has ingested Babidi. Serinox and Draco also team up against Kisame and a weakened human Deathwing. The Charmed Twins and villain fighter Kusa, Hawkeye rematches with Chameleon, Warrior of Light and Sora fight Garland and Vanitas, Ranma and Rhea fight Saffron and Oni, Usagi and Maka fight Dark Galaxia and Medusa, Ruby fights Torchwick, and Luffy assists Master Chief in defeating Gravemind, among other battles that take place on different worlds. Together with Tawa's brother Dabura and an army of subordinates, General Ban, Haru, Shun, and Sidevilman, Mira and Tawa reappear in their dark forms. A hero version of Broly from another dimension fights and defeats them all, and Goku and Vegeta also join forces with alternate Vegeto versions of themselves. The two fuse into Gogeta and both fusions, as Super Saiyan 3 battles an alternate version of Super 17 that has absorbed his dimensions 18. When Kent and Nito fuse, Kino is created. The fusion battles and defeats Omega Shinran, closing the gate through time. Jarek first transforms into an ogre and battles Madara, losing but not killing him. As Madara is about to die, the dimensional gates start to close, but Madara jumps through one of them first. A moment later, he reappears in a different form, revealing that he traveled to a different version of the ninja world that had been completely destroyed by the Jubi. Madara successfully fused with the Jubi, becoming its Jinchuriki. In the dimensional twilight, a cage that only exists in the area between dimensions, Madara uses his newly discovered power to trap the 10 Neon Z warriors. He then gathers the few villains that are left from the afterlife, and his new group sets out to wreak havoc on all worlds. In order to cover for Kent's group while they are trapped, Hero Broly decides to form a second team of Neon Z warriors. This second team consists of Hero Broly, Renko, the Charmed Twins, Villain, Hawkeye, Draco, Ashen, Jim, and Harai. They travel to different worlds and assist the heroes there in fending off Madara's new group. Hero Broly assists the Z Fighters against Golden Frieza and the Beacon Academy students against Salem. Ashen assists Sonic's friends in combating Time Eater. Hawkeye assists the UNSC in defeating the resurrected Didact. Jim assists Ryu and the other Street Fighters in defeating Nikali. Villain assists the Warriors of Light against Chaos. Draco assists the students of DWMA against Azura. The Charmed Twins assist the Keyblade champions in defeating No Heart and assisting the Straw Hats against Blackbeard. When the group reassembles in the ninja world, they discover that Madara has finished the Eye of the Moon plan while they are away, placing the entire world under the control of Infinite Tsukuyumi. He boasts that he will use his power to open doors to other worlds so that the roots of the Shinju tree can trap more people and establish himself as ruler. Good Broly uses Super Saiyan 4 to lead his team in combat, and the group succeeds and narrowly defeats Madara. Black Zetsu shows up to their horror, betraying and stabbing Madara through. As Zetsu reveals the truth about his mother, Kaguya, and how he had surreptitiously manipulated events to ensure her resurrection, Madara starts to change. He acknowledges that although he had originally intended to do this during the Fourth Shinobi War, he knew that if he waited, another opportunity would present itself, and it has. Now that Madara completes her transformation, exposing Kaguya, who starts eliminating Broly's team one by one. However, before Kaguya can eliminate them, 9 out of the 10 Neon Z warriors escape the dimensional twilight, claiming that Kent is trapped in the deepest part of the twilight and requires more time to escape. The 9 heroes battle Kaguya, with Ranko serving as the temporary leader and using her phoenix power to rejuvenate herself. They come very close to victory, but ultimately fail. Kent finally escapes as Kaguya is ready to kill Ranko. Seeing his friends, including his girlfriend, in near death, he becomes enraged and turns into Super Saiyan 4 for the first time. He battles and eventually defeats Kaguya. As the last dimensional portals close, Ashin and Katrina choose to remain with Nito. Pink returns home to lead her people, and Harai, Jim, and Good Broly take Kent to their various dimensions so Kent can bring them back if the second Neon Z Warrior team is ever needed. When Kent visits Zaman Mountain, he discovers a final portal. As it closes, he peers through and sees a different version of himself contentedly living in a peaceful world with his loved ones. Broly's Nightmare, Final Arc. In order to acquire his powers, Cell and HFIL tries to absorb Broly. However, the absorption backfires, and Cell becomes the one being absorbed. This gives Broly the ability to absorb humans as well, and he starts absorbing every HFIL resident he can locate. His darkness starts to permeate the real world as his strength grows to uncontrollable proportions, producing shadow replicas of every criminal he ingested. The Neon Z warriors then proceed to the worlds they begin to emerge in and try to do as little harm as they can. Kent battles Shadow Jadeite, Naruto, Forest, and Yumiko battles Shadow Akusa, Nito, Serenox, and Jarek battles Shadow Madara, and Goku, Sonic, and Mario battles Shadow Cooler. King Yenma contacts Kent after he defeats Shadow Jadeite, and he gives him special permission to enter HFIL to stop the issue. Kent goes SS3 and battles SS3 Broly. Midway through the fight, Broly finds and absorbs Omega Shinran, turning SS4. Kent goes SS4 and the fight resumes. Just when it looks like Kent is going to win, Broly finds and absorbs Kaguya. With the power up, he transforms into Nightmare Broly, defeating Kent, rendering him unconscious. A shadow replica of the Jubi, King Kitsun's fox form, and Deathwing's dragon form appear while Kent is comatose in HFIL, and the other 9 join forces to battle them. Nito goes SS4 for the first time, and Good Broly's second NZW squad shows up and assists in overcoming the shadows. Kent awakens and finds Broly, who has just completed absorbing the remaining villains from HFIL. Thinking he is now unbeatable, he offers Kent a month to assemble as many warriors as he can and meet him in a desolate planet orbiting a massive supernova at the universe's core. He helps the Z Fighters, the Allied Shinobi Forces, the Mobians, the Smash Fighters, the Warriors of Cosmos, the Keyblade Wielders, the UNSC, the Sailor Scouts, the Nerima Wrecking Crew, the Street Fighters, the DWMA, the Grand Line Pirates, and the Remnant Hunters. The next month, he brings together as many fighters from as many worlds as he can while assisting them against the shadows. Nightmare Broly uses his power to cover the entire universe in darkness, and creates an army of shadows, which consists of every villain the group has encountered. The army of heroes battles the army of shadows, and halfway through the battle, the Neon Z warriors break away from the army to pursue Broly. Ken teleports all the heroes he gathered and brings them to the desolate planet. Super Saiyan Blue Goku, SS for Kent, SS for Nito, Super Dragon Serinox, Bijou Forest / Yumiko, Six Paths Naruto, Ogre Jarek, Hypersonic, Fire Mario, and the 10 Neon Z warriors battle Nightmare Broly in their most powerful forms. The NZW think they have won after hitting Broly with a combined attack, but then the shadow villains the other heroes are battling turn into black smoke and begin to assemble around Broly. Broly absorbs the smoke and charges to full power, turning into a titanic shadow-covered Broly, and defeats all of the gathered heroes with a single attack. When his dragon flames heal his life-threatening wounds, his Saiyan blood activates a Zenkai, and the power boost enables him to combine his dragon soul with Super Saiyan 4, creating a brand new transformation, Super Saiyan Dragon. Kent, however, refuses to lose and keeps standing, taking the beating that Broly gives him, and powering up as much as he can. SS Dragon Kent battles Colossus Nightmare Broly. Ultimately, Kent uses all of his energy and the residual energy of the other heroes to launch a last strike called the Hero Soul Flash, which kills Broly. The universe is saved and the darkness is extinguished.